Good afternoon, everybody. It is, of course, Friday and time for the weekly update. So let me know. Voice, picture, glasses, all good?
Sound and video okay.
Cool. So welcome. It has been a plague-filled week here at the studio. We've got guys on the West Coast who don't feel great. 3 people out today. I read that the folks in Washington State have an epidemic of mumps going around now, apparently. So yeah, it's a great time health-wise, apparently, for the United States. So this is going to be a good update. It's a really good update in some ways, a little bit smaller, but not too much in terms of user stories, mainly because we have been working, as you folks know, on a whole bunch of big ticket items. And that, of course, takes time, a lot of work in progresses, but considering how important they are to the game, I think you folks will be really happy with today's update. I know I am. Actually quite happy, as I've been saying on the forum all week. So yeah, let's get this started. We will be doing a Q&A like last week. I don't want it to be a long one. We are working to get a build up tonight. I don't think it's going to happen, but who knows. But yeah, so first, animation system. So if you folks have been in the forums and you've seen me talking about it, you know that we have dropped the first version of Andrew's new and awesome animation system into the game. We have been testing it. We have been running around. Andrew is working on it right now. It is something that will be, when it is finished, game-changing for us in the same way that our networking is. Andrew cares very much about the animation system. This is something he said even during the Kickstarter days, how he wants to have something that flows and feels really nice, that's robust, that's powerful, that allows us to do the sort of things that we've been talking about in terms of being able to swing your sword at the same time you're holding up your shield, and not as hey, I pushed the swing. Yeah, this is good. I wonder if we can do this for the next 20 minutes, but not for a single animation. Not hey, you push the ability that says swing your sword and then swing your shield. It's hey, you swing your sword and then you move your shield out and it plays. That's what we're going for. Very fluid and very cool. First pass, work in progress, of course. Dropped in, worked from day one with certainly an interesting and slightly OP ability that if you ran, it killed everyone on the server. So, we nerfed it, and sorry, but I guess it had to be done. And things are moving along really well with it. Again, there's a slight chance we'll have a test today for IT, but I wouldn't count on it. But it's in, and that is so important. I know many of you, most of you, almost all of you want great animations in the game. You want to see something that looks good. You might not care if we look quite as good as the best in the business. We're back. You guys have been very accepting as we've been on an interesting journey from 2013, and certainly once we showed the pre-alpha testing engine in 2014 to where we are now. And that's in terms of the overall look of the game. And expect that just as you've seen that change and improve, expect the animation system to go the exact same way, though it won't take as long. So that's a pretty good number one. Number two, We are continuing working, as always, on making our terrain system, which, as you know, is procedurally generated while you play, even faster. And so George found, not an error, but found a way that, or found, we found something in the code that wasn't taking advantage of your PC's cores as much as we like to do already. So he's been working on refactoring that. So we will continue to exploit every bit of power you have on your PC. We've been saying this from the beginning, that we want to create an engine that can do that. Our engine is fully multi-threaded, and that's something that is still uncommon. Obviously, the Unreal Engine does it. We do it pretty well, and our server is doing it pretty awesomely. And we'll continue. One of the conversations we just had was with Mark saying, hey, why don't we spin up a 100-core machine and see what happens? This stuff was unthinkable 10 years ago. And a pipe dream, even during Warhammer's release. It's so nice to be able to have that kind of ability, obviously today, and we plan on taking full advantage of that. Next, work in progress, building performance. So as you guys have known, we've been talking about for the last, really since we got back, that we were doing, whether it's cylinder morphing, which you saw in a previous week's update, but also to continue improving performance. More progress there as well. The patcher tester. So, patcher testing. So that went incredibly well. So few bug reports. Most of them really minor, which was great. We went from IT to alpha, so we're shutting it down for now. And if we test this weekend, we'll be testing the next rev. But if not, we'll test an updated version as well next week. We are getting very close, meaning absolutely weeks, if not week, to replace the current patcher with the new gen patcher, which will also mean the end, we hope forever, of the experimental patcher. So that's also great. Items. So, as we've talked about last week, with, for example, the helmet being multiple parts, we continue to work on our item definitions. That both from an artistic sense and also from a crafting sense, which obviously is near and dear to my heart. So as Christina and Ben and the team continue to flesh out what will be our first final, meaning this is something that we really believe in, definition for Beta 1, then we move on to crafting after that. We are also, I said actually 2 in 1, updating the visuals as well for items. So world size. So many months ago, we talked to you about our 16 kilometer map. Obviously square, so it was about 100 square kilometers, which is obviously reasonable size, bigger than the District of Columbia. Well, we're now up to 32 kilometers. So yeah, much bigger. It takes right now with a speed boost. It takes about 30 minutes to run from one side of the world to the other, and that's running really fast. So it's a big map. It's gonna get bigger. We were playing around with 64, so that will be the next step. But 32 will be the size of each of the main safe islands, for Beta 1. Just to give you an FYI about why that's important. So many months ago, many years ago, we talked about the size of the maps, about the size of the islands, about plots. And I reassured you folks that, we weren't worried at all about having enough plots on an island. Just to give you an idea on this current island, if we just broke it up in the same way we broke up the island for the current testing, and you saw all the buildings that we pre-generated. Right now we have on one island 320,000 plots available. in theory. Obviously, we haven't put 320,000 houses down yet. But yeah, the islands are going to be huge, folks. We've told you that you're going to see a very big one this size in Beta 1 for each of the 3 realms. So you will have plenty of room to spread out. You'll have plenty of room to build your structures. And that's just Beta 1. As we go into Beta 2 and then, March to live, we're going to have a lot of islands in the world, just as we talked about during the Kickstarter. And they can be not only this size, in theory, they can be bigger. So that's pretty cool. And I hope allays any concerns that, we're going to come into the game a little late, you won't be there day 1, and you won't be able to get a plot. There are going to be plenty, I guarantee it. Server security. So one of the things we've been using for a long time, as many of you folks know, is OpenSSL. It's time to upgrade from that. So we've gone to Libre SSL and putting that in. And we're doing it just because we need to upgrade, as opposed to something happened, nothing happened. We always do this. We're currently, always looking to improve our tech, and OpenSSL is a great standard, and it has been used a lot and used by a ton of people. But I think it's time, or the guys thought it was time, to go to something even better. So we have places of power. So you saw Dion's work this week on improving the look of one of the places of power, and that's an ongoing thing, also now and forever. Art and animation. The guys and gals have been waiting, Sandra and Michelle, to begin importing and using the animations they've done to date. Like everything else, this is a first pass. So we put in the first pass running, and minus that little problem with killing people on the server, it worked well. Andrew then added fidgets, so we could see the fidgets that Sandra, worked on, and Scott worked on as well. And so this is a step-by-step process. We're going to keep importing new animations. We're going to see how they look, and then we're going to improve them. We're going to change them. We're going to adjust them, and potentially, obviously, as well, make adjustments to the animation system itself. Work in progress. It's an ongoing thing. The first pass that are in today are anything but final. Not even close to final. Neither the animation system nor the animations. This is something we will be doing from now until the game launches, and probably, I am sure, after the game launches. So, expect to be seeing them hopefully next week. VFX. So, that's another big thing we've been working on, and Mike has been working on some new VFX using a new Fluid Dynamics plugin that he's never used before. So that's kind of cool. Deeper Darker Forest. So Tyler's been working on branches, barks, and bits. I didn't write that, he wrote that. So 3 Bs for the forest, as well as for use in other areas as well. And finally, on our top 13-ish in this case, we've worked on, John has been working on some plant models for the game. So yeah, that's it for our top 10-ish list. Some really big things there, especially the animation system, but don't underestimate having the importance of the larger map, of server performance, all those sorts of things that also need to be done, as well as what the art team has been doing, whether it's on animations or places of power, to make the world look better for you folks in Beta 1. Overall, other things, Ben and I are happily working on various design bits, whether it's crafting or weapons or animations as well. This is all an ongoing process, which is, ongoing and, going great. The new programmer, the newest, is working out just fine. We'll be introducing her shortly. And the rest of the team, minus being sick, is happily and doing their work as well as always. So look, that's it. Let's go to a reasonably quick Q&A, and I can get back to work on today's update. We'll be a little light in art, unlike last week where we had a lot of art because we've had people down. So,
all right, type up your questions. We'll play the Q&A intro, which we haven't done in a while.
Who are you? Turn the stove off. Did I hear a dog?
Do you like my shirt?
When are this?
Is this my spleen?
Now it is time to answer some questions.
Okay. Kicking things off, Horst Rudolph asks, how exactly will I be able to build round objects in Cube?
Well, that's going to be an interface thing, and once we get the ability to do that out of testing and into the live game, that we'll figure out. It's really going to be a question of what will be the easiest way for you folks to have round shapes, and that's trial, error, iteration, more error, and then more iteration.
Odelvik asks, will pops get harder to defend over time via a game mechanic to prevent one realm dominating it?
If you mean automatically, there will certainly be times that will happen where the server will decide that it's time, just as we talked about the depths, that it's time to change things up a little bit. Other times, the defense of the pops will be up to you guys, just like defending your homes, your castles, and the defense system for those. What are you willing to do to help defend your folks' pops?
Adric Cortesia asks, how's the office search going?
I am still waiting to hear back from the landlord on some expenses that I want reconciled. As soon as we get that, we're ready, willing, able to go to the next stage.
Inkheart Design asks, any idea when you might launch new Viking races?
Frankly, as I've talked about for the last few months, it's not something that I want to focus on. We have other things that we need to do. I don't want to distract the art team, nor you folks. We just, oh look, pretty pictures. Same with Cube. As soon as we get into Beta 1, then we can go and do some other things that I would like to do, and I know guys on your end, like Necro, really want to do, but our focus has got to be Beta 1, Beta 1, Beta 1.
Latuine asks, is that map a single island or the full map?
Oh, no, that's a single island. I said it was big. Our game is going to be really big, folks. We've been really clear about that from the beginning. The idea that you can run from, let's say, one end of the finished world, let's say before the breakup, to the other in a half hour, no, not going to be even close. This is not something that we have any intention of changing. We've said we could do big maps, and now with the 32K map, that proves we can do big island maps. And it just gets better from here.
Coach T asks, with encumbrance, will the size of items as well as weight be factored in, i.e. not be able to carry huge bulk even if it is really light?
Yes.
Brando2 asks, would round shapes be a base shape or a secondary step in the creation process after putting down square shapes?
That's what we're going to figure out. That's why it's an interface thing, right? What is going to be the easiest and best way? If we can come up with a good way to allow people to create round shapes themselves, we may have to use, simply templates for arches and things like that. I don't think that's going to be the issue, but who knows? The whole point of having a building system is to make it make the UI as intuitive and easy to use as possible for our builders. It shouldn't be a question of, hey, you've got to be a super technical expert to use round shapes or do other things. So, we'll get it right, and if we can't get it right for some strange reason, we'll find a way around it. We always do.
Paul Tober asks, how are you handling the current gaming trend where people find the best min-max build and every cookie cutter copies it? Any steps to encourage individual choices?
Sure. We've said from the beginning we love min-maxers. We really do. We think you guys and gals who care about the most minute detail of your character are going to love this game. On the other hand, will that lead to the potential for what you just described, which is absolutely a concern? And at the end of the day, why I don't think that's going to be a big deal for us, and look, I could be wrong, is that because you have so many options, because playstyle is so different, depending on whether you want to focus on sieging or 8-man or solo play or other things, your builds are going to be more geared to whatever your preferred, most favorite style and the thing you play the most is. So, look, is there some danger of cookie cutter siege builds if you happen to be, a mage from a certain realm? Sure, that is a concern. We will try to address it. But at the end of the day, I do expect players, and this is something Ben and I always talk about, players are going to find the most optimal way to play the game their way if you give them the ability. Well, we want you to have that ability. We want you to customize your character your way. We want you to build your own abilities. And if you folks find what you consider the best way to do things is, that's fine. Now, if we screwed up, and so the best way to do something is to create a certain set of abilities that we didn't think you could craft by combining certain components, well, that's a whole different story. But if you players decide that, hey, the most optimal path for playing siege mage is using a certain set of components, and that's how we wanted Ben and I sorry, late lunch at Chipotle. If that is kosher with us, then that's cool. If we designed it that way and we like the design, we'll just leave it that way.
As always, Doulos OG says, I want a cryptic movie quote of some kind. But maybe while you think about that, Briar C asks,
I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way.
Ooh. Briar C asks, what's your favorite part of your Andrewmation?
Seeing him excited about a system. This is something that's important to Andrew. It always has been. And, we get to work on a lot of things we like at times, and other times we do things, all of us here, that we don't like. Making a game isn't all about the fun-filled, 8-hour days, 5 days a week, where you get to go home and, have a normal schedule. That's not what it's like at a game studio, especially making this kind of game, especially this size of a team. I mean, Tyler in his write-up had, a bit tropish, but very accurate phrase, the little engine that could. We are, a little engine, a small team, and we also have our own engine. And so we, at times, since we are small, we aren't, we aren't overfunded by any stretch of the imagination. We all have to do multiple things at times. And some of us do more multiple things than others. And some of those things just suck. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's just, we don't get any enjoyment out of it. But they have to be done. And that's how you, make a great game. And so knowing that Andrew is excited about this system, and it's something he's wanted to do for the longest time, not a animation system, but a great animation system, that makes me really happy.
Atropos Nix asks, MMO player population can change a lot over the life cycle of a game, but the size of the in-game world is less flexible. What kind of discussions have you had internally about size maps, or what size maps to launch that delivers a great player experience for both day one and a year down the road?
Well, our stuff is going to change. I mean, look, we we are so not afraid of changing things up, whether before we launched the Kickstarter and talked about some things we want to do, or the lifestyle of the game. So whatever we launch with, I guarantee you, I absolutely guarantee you, it will change. It will either change because we screwed something up and we need to fix it, or we screwed something up, or we did something right and we want to do it even better, or hey, it's just time to add and throw something new into the mix. So whatever the size of the maps are, whatever the size of the world is, it's going to change. It's so going to change. And what's really important to keep in mind, in without the very cliched size, doesn't matter. It does matter in this game, but it matters in different ways. And it's not just size, but it is location. We've said that one of the ways, to combat, the kind of Zerg that we've seen in other games where the roving bands just rove, is the way we're setting up the islands and the way places of power are going to be. And that's what's really relevant. Having giant islands is not, we're not doing that just for, ooh, look at what we can do, aren't we such clever boys and girls? Because, look, you've had great systems like, if you go back to the old Asheron's Call, which was a huge world. I think it was the biggest, certainly it was the biggest at the time, and probably one of the biggest ever in an MMO. It kept going. So we're not trying to do that. What we're trying to do is come up with the right size for people to have the kind of homes that they want, to have the kind of land, structures, guild cities, your cities, or towns, I should say, that you want to build, to make it so that you can't just walk across an island in a few minutes and go from one siege to the other siege deep in enemy territory. We've said that that's not what we're going for. So, whether it's 32K, 64K, 16K, or kilometers, at the end of the day, all that's going to matter is that we can build big as we need to. We can go as big as we need to go, and that we can always add more. And you've seen our multi-island tech already work, beautifully. Next stage, when that goes in, will be even cooler.
Edric Cortesia asks, when are we allowed to ask you about the Beta 1 release?
You remember, I said as soon as we've got the animation and VFX systems in and working. So that's still the, that's still the only, I don't want to say line in the sand. That's still the trigger point. What?
Rite of passage?
No. Oh, come on, Mac. You're a writer. Supposed to help me out here. God, it leaves me hanging and stuff. Once we hit there, we can absolutely give you, a much better date. If the animation system takes longer, then it takes a little longer to get into beta. If it's in quicker, or and all the animations are in quicker, then it takes less time. So I'm not going to give you a date that's nonsense. What I can say is the first pass of the system is in. We'll be testing it again, slight chance this weekend, most likely next week, with actual backers and not just CSE guys and gals. So that's the first step.
Those are the criteria. That was the word.
Criteria, there we go. Thank you.
Prophet asks, can we get some building concept art for the 3 realms?
At some point, yeah, some point soon.
Foggy asks, there was a discussion going on about NPCs. Could you elaborate what plans you have for NPCs of the starter cities and for any guild halls or player towns? Will they have any importance?
At the opening of Beta 1, the only things that we might have are guards. We have talked about that. It's one of our Beta, 1 checklist items. It's also the ones I think I've mentioned before, that if we had to lose that for the opening of Beta 1, frankly, who cares? It's not a big deal. since after all, the setup is going to be 3 safe islands where you really don't need guards, and then the contested island, which will be opened and closed, for battles. So, there will be NPCs obviously in the game, and all sorts of them, but it's not a priority for the opening of Beta 1. That's now what, the vast majority of you folks back the game for, and we don't want to make it a reason to hold up Beta 1.
Alvaro asks, how is the sound matching the animation system? Like having the sound separated in small bits that can be combined?
That's what we're working on. I think you'll like what you hear.
Let's see. Das Let's Play Shop asks, do I need to travel for some hours to get from far away to our home city to meet guys?
Well, that's going to be the issue, right? And that's why I said it's not just size. If you have a big map like ours is going to be, a big world, and it's broken up into various islands, you may be able to take boats to speed up the travel time between the islands. On the other hand, if you're all the way on the end of the world and the world is united and you were just attacked, if you were just in a battle near somebody else's safe city, it will certainly take you more than a half hour to get all the way back to your home base, assuming that we don't have any improved travel systems. We said no, and again, we're not going back on anything. We've said no instant travel and only some faster travel. So that's going to be the question: how far are we going to need to go with that? And that's going to tie nicely into the size of the world. If we want a slightly bigger world, then what we'll probably do is have faster travel within your safe areas, or within your held areas. We'll speed up the rate on roads. On the other hand, if we ended up with a more disconnected map where you have more islands, then taking a boat or taking whatever we use to go from one island to the next will speed up your travel time. But count on certainly more than a half hour. That's part of the game. You can't just go from the middle of your home city to the other end of the map and be there in a short time. That would make sieges almost pointless.
Rahalden asks, where are the islands of Founders located? Anywhere on the map or concentrated around the main realm island?
That's something to be determined. It's really something I think we're going to end up most likely leaving up to the folks who bought the islands, because frankly, you can't get there unless you have permissions to get there. So we could stick it right off the coast, and people can watch, boats go by and watch a little bit what's happening on the mainland, or they could be further out, because frankly, if you try to swim, you'll drown. So we'll see.
Swazi asks, will the cube blueprints we have now be available in-game, or will they be deleted and will we need to start from scratch on blueprints?
You'll need to start from scratch for one simple reason: you don't have the stability turned on. So right now you can build something that might not survive in the real world, because you built this great super top-heavy structure that collapses in the real game world. So would you be able to keep them for Cube potentially? Yes, but you won't be able to import them directly into the game, into the main game.
Lily Orr asks, when you log out somewhere, will you log back into the same place or will you reset to your main town?
Log back into the same place usually. There may be exceptions for that depths, of course, and as well for if you all of a sudden the city you were in, or the town you were in, or the place you were in changes hands.
Lucky Nerd asks, are there going to be wipes between the beta phases once they start?
Oh, there'll be wipes all the time. We've been very clear. We believe in wiping early and often. This is not about keeping a character for launch. This is not about making things a little more convenient for people. We need to wipe a lot. We're never going to ever worry about wiping because anything that slows down our ability to deliver the rest of beta in a faster manner than we have now, anything that slows that down is not a good thing.
Ulvik asks, where will the new programmer be based?
She's in Seattle right now.
Latouine asks, with the insane size of the map, can you describe how respawn will be handled in Beta 1?
Yeah, we're going to stick a whole bunch of places that you can pop back and forth from on the safe island. The contested island you'll be able to get to very quickly as well. And then once you're on the island, certainly there'll be spawns, depending on how big the main contested island is. There'll be plenty of spawns for you to get back into the action. Ben and I were discussing this, as a matter of fact, I think 2 days ago. For Beta 1, we want you guys not to have to run around for a half hour to get from one battle to another. That would be dumb. Beta 1, especially for the opening, is about making sure that you guys, during what are going to be obviously limited testing windows, can get into the action and do what you need to do, both have fun and test without a lot of headache. Anything, just as I said before, anything that slows us down is a bad thing. Anything that makes it inconvenient for you folks, especially in the opening of Beta 1, if we have done that on purpose, which would be, hey, we have this big main contested area, and sorry guys, you have to spawn all the way on one end, and then you got to run to the middle, and then when you die, you have to run all the way back, and that takes a half hour. That's awful. That's dumb. We won't do that. We want you to get back into the action. We want you to test the game and beat on it as much as you can. So, yeah, that will not be an issue. And same with the giant safe islands. We certainly do not want you to feel like, oh, I don't want to log in to work on my home because I have to run a half hour to get to the other end to this great piece of property I found. We don't want that. That's silly. So there'll be plenty of spawns and portals for you to go from one place to another, on the safe islands.
Related question. Dr. Gaming asks, with maps being so large, how often do you imagine players will need to travel to and from the safe islands?
Well, those are two different things. So, the size of the map has nothing to do with how often you have to travel off the safe islands. The safe islands are just for building testing. You can test abilities there as well. Not against other players, of course, because they're safe, but against target dummies, that sort of thing. How often you'll travel to the contested island, that's simply a matter of how many tests we have and how often. We'll run the occasional bot test on the island, then we'll run scenarios on the island. We have siege weapons, not siege weapons, things like that, as we want to test various parts of the game, classes, etc. But what we hope to have open, and no promises, is we hope to have the safe islands running constantly. Whether it's 24/7, probably not, but certainly we hope to have those islands open every weekend for you folks to test your building skills on, assuming there's demand for it, as well as to play around with your character.
Uncerse asks, how complex will character customization be?
It's already...
Face and body.
Don't know yet. One of the things we talked about before the Kickstarter and then during the Kickstarter is it's not like it's a terrible technical challenge that we need to find a way to overcome to do face and hair and eyes. The question is, how much value does it bring? What do we lose in terms of performance? How much can you really see anyway? And these are things we're going to evaluate on an absolute yearly basis. Certainly in a perfect world, we'd love to have great character customization, like City of Heroes, still one of the best character customization systems, ever. Fabulous, fantastic. But you pay a price for it, performance-wise. So the question for us is it worth the price? And if we were doing a PvE game, and certainly a PvE game where you could only have dozens or even a couple hundred people, yeah, sure, not a big deal. When you're trying to do the kind of large-scale battles we're doing with with lots of projectiles and siege engines and all that stuff, that sort of stuff starts counting. Anything counts. So, no promises. I do know that we have more now in the budget from Andrew in terms of polys and tries that we originally said we would have. So there may be room for more customization. But this is something that we're going to look at, as the months go by, and talk to you backers about. If our backers say, hey, MJ, we would love to have more character customization and are willing to, not maybe have some other things, we'd love to hear your opinion. Certainly it's not a discussion for now because we don't know, how far we'll be able to push it, but we'll see. I would think it's safe to say that most of us, if not all of us, who play any of these kind of games love character customization. Again, it's just, do we want to pay, the price for it?
Odilvik says, Veruca would like to know, what determines the damage you produce with a weapon? Is it the weapon only? Do higher stats above the threshold grant a bonus? If not, can you clarify how multiple levels of proficiency with a weapon will work?
It's all, it's complicated. Certainly your abilities, the weapon itself are kind of important. One of the things that we've talked about with crafting, of course, is the ability to increase the damage, increase the durability, increase the absorption ability of weapons and armors. So, nothing has changed. We are staying away, as we have talked about, from big weapon buffs. The whole, you've got to have a plus 15 and then you got to get another, plus here and a plus there and a plus there. We're trying to stay away from that. So, it's all going to factor in.
Paul Tober asks, has there been much work on the social functions of the game? Group finding, etc. Is it going to be just spamming chat?
No, it's not going to be just spamming chat. JB has been working on that, and we're going to do more, certainly. It is a focus for us, but not an immediate one other than groups and guilds, which is obviously kind of important to have in for Beta 1.
Elam DK asks, when will be the next time Beta 1 players get to play?
I'll let you know maybe today. Not be in today, but let you know today. If we get IT in for a test this weekend, then certainly if it goes well, we'll get alphas in early in the week. If it doesn't go well and we can't get everything in that we'd like to get in, then we'll do ITs next week and probably alphas on the weekend. So again, we have a whole new animation system, and so we've got to make sure it doesn't blow up and make sure that the abilities, as we are now hooking up abilities to animations and to VFX, that doesn't blow up as well. And that's the key. Hang on. And that's the key right now. We have a whole bunch of systems that are now being Voltron together, and that's where things get interesting, right? Both from your folks' perspective, and even more from ours.
Hammer1 asks, anything to dissuade people from a lot of bunny hopping to avoid damage, targeting, break LOS, etc. that cripples the immersion in other games?
Yeah, we've said that right from the beginning, and this game isn't about bunny hopping. I think we're certainly moving down the right path by having abilities that are projectiles that can do some kind of tracking. Some of them don't track. Not having an active dodge in the way of, you hit that button and now you're dodging in plate mail, like you were a 13-year-old gymnast at the Olympics. I think that goes a long way to it, and, we'll just have to see. Bunny hopping, there's nothing wrong, it's all immoral or evil about bunny hopping, but we didn't want it for this game.
Unless you consider bunnies evil. The Gamer 11 asks, with large landmass, are the nether storms going to be constantly going in parts of the world, or just pop up randomly at major battles?
You mean the veil storms, I assume. The size also doesn't really matter in terms of the veil storms. Veil storms will happen as they happen. Some of them will be absolutely random because that's part of the game. Other times they'll be caused by what the players are doing. So, whether it's small map, large map, veil storms happen.
Gur1994 says, I love exploring in MMOs. Will there be a lot of interesting things to find in the world?
So the answer is yes, but I want to preface it by saying it's not, because I don't want to mislead anyone. This is not all about exploring the world like it would be in a PvE game. Are there some interesting things? Absolutely. We have the depths. We'll have other places like the depths, there that are worth finding. But it's not a game of exploration as, a prime or foundational, principle for the game. I'd love to say, that we could do that. And frankly, we could do that if we really want to. It's just, once again, that takes time and art. And it hasn't been something we promised players. But will there be lots of exploring and places to find? Absolutely. There's zero question about that.
Doulos OG asks, if the non-safe items are only for specific battle times, when would builders have time to create anything there?
Oh, because we can open, when I say, time slots, we can have, sometimes there'll be larger time slots, other times there'll be smaller time slots. We can speed up building so it's quite fast. Don't worry about that. That will not be an issue. It just won't.
Pink Eye 2000 asks, with the new animation system, will the laggy feeling with jumping be fixed?
That's a bug. That isn't. That wasn't something that's inherent in the system. That's just the way, or due to networking. That just was a bug. Yes, jumping is going to be great. All of the animations we want for the game need to be really, really good, and lagging that weird movement when you jumped was just a bug.
Inkheart Design asks, with the world being split up into islands, will there be focus on naval combat or underwater content?
Yes, we're going to call it Trials of Unchained. No, there certainly are no plans for naval combat. Certainly for now, would we love it? Yeah, absolutely. But certainly no plans for it. Underwater, yeah, no, not so much. I don't see that happening, certainly not even as an extender pack. Naval combat would be cool, it would be awesome, it would be so much fun, but I'm not going to promise, and nor would we do a stretch goal or even an extender pack for it in the near future because, just because.
Brand 2 asks, will starter cities / safe zones play any additional roles outside of natural trading hubs for players?
Yeah, certainly the social aspect of the cities, you'll be able to get stuff there to take out, via caravan or yourself to other parts of the world. Certainly you have all the crafters can set up shop, or a lot of crafters can decide to set up shop in the starter cities or in the safe cities. They're intended to be almost everything you would expect from a city like that. So yeah, kind of important. That's why they can't be attacked.
Izenorus asks, are you expecting players to be able to disconnect enemy islands before they have taken over? I.e., some players could go to a back island and try to start disconnecting it, which would potentially unlink the other islands from buffs or benefits if they achieve it.
The answer is yes. The question is how real time an actual disconnection will be. But yeah, in a perfect world, absolutely.
And
how long it would take.
Grumman asks, do you have a rough estimate how many people will have access to the game when Beta 1 opens?
Oh, I know the exact number. And that's most of our backers. One of the things that you folks saw with our pricing model is we wanted to get people into the alpha and into the beta right from the beginning. You look at, for example, our alpha packages, and when you add up the fact that they have lifetime subs, we weren't charging a lot for the alpha. And some people look at, certain games and go, oh, look at how much they're charging for an alpha. Well, that's why it's come with lifetime subs. So that's the main reason to buy that pack. Same with Beta 1s. We wanted a lot of people to have access, to our betas. Now, we did make a mistake with one of the tiers that had Beta 1 access that shouldn't have, but we're not going to take that away from people. This is an old thing. We made that mistake years ago. But the basic plan was still, anyway, to get lots of people into the beta. It's so important for a game like ours. We want you folks to be involved. We want you to give us feedback. We want to get metrics, from you. That's the best way, we can get the game ready for launch. And there's nothing more important than that. We need to launch well. We will launch well. And the only way, or one of the ways, because we could do it certainly with paid testers, but they still wouldn't be as good as you folks are, is to get you guys and gals in and blowing stuff up and, testing abilities and making combinations that we didn't think of, that sort of thing.
Odelvik asks, will death penalties be severe enough to prevent players exploiting the respawn mechanic to fast travel home?
Well, you're assuming you die and you go home when you die. Could you exploit that somehow, that if you're in an area that you shouldn't be in and you died and that area changed ownership, that you would automatically get a ride home as opposed to, say, a ride to the nearest other spawn point? Certainly we don't want to use death or anything else as a way for people to just go back to their home city. But again, we'll see. Okay, guys, 5 minutes.
All right. Lagonmas says, I've heard of March on Oz, was waiting for more Moo news.
We don't have any time to do anything with Oz, which is a shame. I thought it was a fun game. Got great reviews from people. I'd love to do some things over again and certainly go to another version of Unity, but we just don't have the time to do anything. And I love the gnomes. I thought the gnomes were so cute and want to do more with them, and maybe someday.
Guy P33 asks, will there be functionality to building a home?
Yes.
Remus _ wants to know, on a scale from depths to ducks, how comfy is that sofa?
Oh, it's really comfy. It's great. Thank you, IKEA, especially the clearance section of IKEA. These couches were cheap, and one of them was really, really cheap, which is great. No, they're lovely. Just the right size. I can stretch out and, relax. And we have the comfy beanbag chairs, and yeah.
Go ahead.
So go ahead.
Lataween asks, how customizable will die patterns be on gear at launch?
That is so to be determined. Obviously, another game I, worked on had dying. We've said that dying is important for this game, so expect something cool.
Lagon Mas asks, do you think you'll allow body part target modifiers, like a UI button, rather than manually creating a whole host of healer spells of all types?
Yeah, that's something we have talked about already on the forums, is that the whole idea of the body part targeting system was not to be a nightmare for you folks. And how to overcome it via UI or other way is so important. And I'll repeat, since this subject came up again on the forums, and I, had to come down on it and say the same thing I've said before. Look, I love the body part targeting system. It's something I wanted to do for Dark Age of Camelot, and got shot down on it. If it doesn't work, if it's not fun, if it's just a pain in the ass, we are going to take it out. There is nothing in the design that I wrote or that Ben writes or that Andrew or anyone else here who gets to work on the design. There is nothing that we have talked about that we won't change if it doesn't work. We hope not to do that. We hope to be right. But if we're wrong, we'll change it. There is no one here, including and especially me or Andrew, that are so set in our ways that if what we're doing just isn't fun or just isn't working from a technical perspective, that we're afraid to change it. That sort of hubris is just studio killing and game killing, and we don't have that. If it doesn't work, if body part targeting is just not fun for you, for you folks, for us, we will change it. But we want to see if it can be fun, and that's part of the UI. That's part of the laying out the ability system, and we will do what it takes in terms of working on different iterations to see if it works. But if it doesn't, it goes. I don't care. At the end of the day, if it isn't fun, even if it was an idea I've wanted to do forever, fine, whatever. Doesn't work. The idea can't work, so it goes. Because there is nothing more important than making a great game, a game that you folks who backed us and have stayed with us, during these delays, are happy that you waited. That's what we want to see. And there is nothing, I should say, that is so sacrosanct, that it can't be yanked out.
Well, that seems like a really good place to end. If
That
you're
is,
ready.
yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Who was that again?
Oh, I'd have to scroll up. What was the question?
About body part targeting.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that the younger guy didn't.
Was looking for other possible questions. That was Lagonmas.
So thank you, Agamas. That was a great question to end the day. So look, folks, again, a great week here. A lot of stuff got done, and not finished, but got done, and that's, it's important to know the difference. We are so happy that the first pass of the new animation system landed. It's one of those things where we want to see gameplay and the game evolve just as much as you folks do. And that couldn't happen with the old animation system. It just couldn't. So now the new one, first pass is in, and over the coming weeks, you're going to start to see it in action. But let me say again, everyone, keep your expectations in check. This is the first pass. Just like when we said, hey, this is the first pass of art, this is the first pass at large-scale battles, that we're going to, look at things, we're going to see what needs to be improved, and we're going to improve them. I'm not prepping you for a refactor. It's nothing like that. But this is the first pass. The animations that Scott and Sandra do, they don't obviously do them in the game. They do them on their own machines and their own programs. And so when you put them in a game, we have to see how it looks. And then we see what we can improve, or what needs to be changed. So keep that in mind, but huge progress. The amount of systems that were touched, by Andrew and the code dump, so many. So it's been interesting, it's been fun, and I look forward to showing you folks the first pass on it as soon as possible. And it won't be long. It really won't be. Mark was in this afternoon running from one side of the island to the other, checking the time, looking for any, hey, I reached the end, and then all of a sudden the game lost track of me sort of thing. Nothing like that. No crashes, no weird behavior. So it's all good, folks. And as always, let me end this with thank you very much for your support. Thank you so much for your patience. Again, slight chance that we'll have a test tonight. I am not counting on a test this weekend. Not counting on it. It would be for IT only, so alphas, betas, there will not be a test for you folks. But, stand by for an update. We've got, again, a good user, some good user stories to talk about. We have a few pieces of art, not as much as we usually have because of illness, but certainly a few pieces. And that's it. Have a great weekend, and see you folks next week.
See you later.